Welcome back to Between Bells with the fabulous Kristen Scholer and Baker Machado. And after 82 regular season games and two very exciting series, the playoff series, the NBA Conference Championship matchups are finally set. We have the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets facing up in the Western Conference Finals, and the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers going head-to-head out east. So joining us now to break it all down is our friend James Yoder, founder and CEO over at Chat Sports. I was actually surprised, James, that the Sixers didn't make a bigger game out of last night, even though they only lost by a few points. But how big is it of a surprise that the Boston Celtics, who have a very young team, made it this far, and the Cleveland Cavaliers dismantled Toronto as quickly as they did?
So many injuries for the Celtics, too, this season.
You know, the second round was just surprising altogether. I mean, some of these teams had tougher matchups in the first round. The Cavs sweeping the Raptors coming off their best season in their franchise history, was certainly a surprise. LeBron, I mean, we've heard of the LeBronto. He basically owns that city. But over on the other side, the Celtics, what they're doing is rather unprecedented. Their best two players not playing. And when those guys come back next year, could they be considered a favorite with maybe the Warriors next season? But to take care of the Sixers in 5 games was very surprising. I thought the Sixers were certainly going to win this series. It's showing that Brad Stevens is likely the best coach in all of basketball. He's about 40 years old or so. I mean, it's amazing what he's done with this team this season.
All right, but the big question, right, is can the Celtics beat LeBron? We're showing a preview of the matchup here, James. Can they give him a run for their money at best?
You know, I didn't think so. I wouldn't have guessed that they would have based on what's going on with their team right now. But Brad Stevens showed that he can shut down a team's best player like he did with Ben Simmons and the 76ers. So I expect them to really come with a lot of young athletic bodies to come at LeBron, get the ball out of his hands. And so I think the story of this series will be in game 1 with the Cavs knowing that they want to kind of come out and make a statement. If the Celtics can pull off a game 1 victory potentially, I think that really would show that they have the opportunity to beat the Cavs. If they do, this would be the most unlikely NBA Finals team of my lifetime, maybe rivaling the 1999 Knicks, who were an 8 seed. But other than that, this would be as unprecedented as it gets. But I don't think they will beat the Cavs. I think the Cavs will end up pulling it off in 6 games is my current prediction. But Brad Stevens will steal 1 game with his coaching. He is a much better coach than Tyronn Lue.
Well, just looking at how young the Celtics are, I mean, this next piece is hilarious to me. I mean, Jayson Tatum, who's a young rookie for the Boston Celtics, tweeted this photo. We don't think LeBron James is that old, but look at this.
Gosh.
This is Jayson Tatum with LeBron James, and this photo is only 6 years old, but look how young he looks at this. Doesn't this in itself almost just signify how young the Celtics are?
That tweet kind of went viral last night. Just amazing. We've seen this, with other guys, that tweets they made in just 2011, 2012. Now, somebody in their late 20s or 30s, you're like, oh, that's not that long ago. But for an 18, 19, 20-year-old, they were 12, 13, 14 years old at the time, just trying to understand social media and just tweeting at LeBron James, who's got tens of millions of followers, expecting a response, is humorous. But it shows that there is an entire generation. LeBron's in his 15th year. There is an entire generation of players in the NBA that looked up to him as their god, as their basketball, just the guy they worshiped growing up, and now they're playing against him. It's just proven how long, it's just amazing to think about how long LeBron has been at the top of his game, the best player, the marquee name in the NBA. And I do believe now that the NBA is going to have a tougher time transitioning when LeBron retires than they even did at Jordan, because he's just done it for such a longer time than any player really in sports history, being at the top of their game.
Around $1.5 million he spent on his body last year outside of what the Cleveland Cavs provide to him. It's amazing. Talk about self-preservation, Baker. Now, let's move over to the West. It's the matchup that we've all been waiting
This should be the finals.
for. Yep. The Warriors versus the Rockets. Who do you got your money on, James?
It's really tough for me to think that there's any way the Warriors can lose this one. They have 4 superstar players. They have beaten the Rockets twice in the last 3 seasons, I believe it is. And Steph Curry has just owned Chris Paul over the last 4 years, maybe even going back a 5th year. Outside of the Cavs beating the Warriors in the NBA Finals of 2016. Their prior loss in an NBA playoff series was to the Clippers with Chris Paul in the 2014 season, and it took them 7 games in round 1. That got Mark Jackson out of there as the Warriors coach, brought in Steve Kerr, really changed the landscape of the NBA. I don't know, somehow the Warriors went from that team and suffering that loss to Chris Paul to the next year, just turning into this juggernaut. But Steph Curry really owns Chris Paul. This is Chris Paul's first time in an NBA conference championship series in his entire career. He's been in the NBA since 2005. Just think about how long he's been in the NBA, and this is the first time he's made it this far. I think there's a reason. He is necessarily not a clutch player. The Warriors have been here before, and I think they've got the better coach, they've got the better player, and I think they've just got the more stable mission and process as a basketball team. So I am going to go out on a limb with this one. I think the Warriors are going to have an easier time beating the Rockets than the Cavs will beating the Celtics. I think the Warriors are going to win this one in 5.
That's a call, James.
And 5 nonetheless. That's a ballsy. That's a very aggressive prediction there. James, we got to talk about some good news, though, in addition to the series, which is really good. It's always been pretty much not a matter of if, but when Spurs assistant coach Becky Hammon would be the first female head coach in the NBA. Now there's reports out there that she's interviewing for the Milwaukee Bucks job right now, which would be amazing if she get it. What are the chances and the likelihood that she does get it?
I doubt she gets it at this point, but I think it's a good step to see her getting these interviews, proving that there's a place for a woman, and there certainly is, but there's never been one before, so she's got to break through that barrier. She's got, clearly the front runner to take that role, so it would be a monumental move in sports history for her to get that job. I don't think she gets it if I was just betting some money on it, but I think it's going to set the tone for her to eventually get one of these jobs. Heck, maybe it could be the Spurs one day when Greg Popovich decides to retire. But the fact that she's getting interviews is it's a very big deal, and I think she'll continue to get interviews if she doesn't get this job. And maybe there's going to be more jobs potentially opening up this this NBA offseason. Maybe she'll get another interview. But this is a big move. I think any woman who thought that she couldn't break into men's sports from a coaching perspective has got to be rooting for Becky Hammon, hoping she gets the job. And I think before too long, maybe 1 or 2 more seasons, she will end up landing an NBA coaching job, or potentially going to the college game. I've heard this rumored out there, and looking to get into a head coaching job of a men's college coaching team at some point if the NBA doesn't work for this season or the next.
Yeah, it was reported that she was offered the gig at her alma mater, Colorado State, earlier this year.
Got to go big or go home, though, right? Try to infiltrate the NBA first, probably here. James, you think that this kind of progress would be possible in any other professional sports league out there?
Well, so we've got a little bit of, historical context. Jen Welter is a female football coach, has had a couple stints with the Arizona Cardinals and a few other teams. She didn't get a full-time coaching gig like Becky Hammon, but Jen Welter is the first, NFL coach. She did an entire offseason on the staff with the Cardinals a few years ago, and she wrote a book about it. Also played in a men's semi-pro league for a few plays a while back. So that's like the first jump into women, breaking into men's sports. So the NBA has shown, I think, really since the Donald Sterling issue with his racist issues that forced him to lose the Clippers team, that they're continuing to be the most progressive league across all areas, social justice, female coaches, and some other things. So I believe the NBA will be the first one to take this plunge. I think it's going to take a long time before we'd see this in Major League Baseball and certainly the NFL. I don't necessarily think that they are set up or will be the ones that break that barrier.
I'm with you there. James Yoder, founder and CEO over at Chat Sports. Good to see you as always, James. Thank you.